Hello everyone and welcome to today's Stocks and Crypto YouTube Charts video. I am No FOMO Charts. Today is Monday, October 13, 2025. It's after 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome everyone. This is a swing trading and investing YouTube Charts channel. Let's start off with stocks first because earnings season is beginning this week. SPY, S&P 500 ETF. We had that tariff threat volatility last Friday and over this weekend. However, we're still in the long-term uptrend. Yes, the price is starting to consolidate a little bit to the side right now on this daily chart. Zooming in, we can see that the 50 EMA held and futures over the weekend bounced back up to about halfway point back into the range. It's an inside bar, obviously today going sideways, stuck around $663. If we bring up the pivot points, we actually pierce that lower pivot, and if earnings are good, we could potentially continue the uptrend here. I'm trying to be optimistic this year because we're still in the uptrend, and the price has recovered from these negative 3% crashes, although Friday's crash was pretty bad. But we're not in a raging downtrend. So that's why I'm trying to remain connected with the uptrend. We barely went back into this trend line support zone. And so that's going to be my reference for the rest of this month. If we can hold above 653, which we pierced down into last Friday, we could potentially test 675 if earnings are good. Let's not forget about stock earnings. However, as an investor, a quick warning sign for the much longer term is yes, the weekly chart is in the overbought zone on stochastic RSI. The regular RSI is not in an extreme zone. Let me bring that up. It's not extreme. If we were in the 75 to 80 range and we had a double top, then we might have a larger pullback. But RSI is only 66, and we are starting to lose momentum. So in the future, we could have a larger pullback, or if earnings are bad. It just might not happen tomorrow. We'll see, though. Moving on. Nasdaq, QQQ, ETF. These are going to be very similar, these index ETF, the analysis, so I'll do it faster. We're still in this uptrend. And we had that flash crash on Friday. We're still holding our 50 EMA and our 26 EMA zones. And in uptrends, those hold very well. So I'm looking for a higher high bounce. See if we could break 611 this month. Would be interesting to see. Dow Jones, very similar. However, it was more obvious on the Dow Jones that we're having 3 to 4 days of inside bars, and then somebody shorted, and then we had the crash. So it was a little bit more obvious on DIA. 50 EMA bounce. Testing our 26 EMA zone, 461. See if we can maintain an uptrend. Still, even though we had a flash crash in the past, and we have inside bars, if we can flag and then try to trend reverse on some good earnings, would be nice to see. Russell 2000 as well, very similar. Now, Russell 2000, because it's small cap stocks, we're looking at this resistance zone below 246, something I want to watch out for. I'm starting to see that momentum start to fade. Could happen in the next couple of months. But the short term is we're still in that uptrend. Watching closely. Now, this week, we have quite a bit of earnings. I'll just do one. I'll do the financial ETF XLF. Now, XLF was consolidating to the side for some time on the daily chart. The weekly chart is showing neutral for now, bouncing off of that 26 EMA right around $52. So that's stochastic is actually around a low zone. So if earnings are good, we could have a significant pop up to the upside. Now, for financial stocks, usually it needs to get extremely oversold to get value. But this is a small little baby crash that I'm going to call it. And there could be about 6% in the next volatility in the next 30 to 45 days. So interesting to watch that. Now, closing up stocks, I have a lot of setups on my watch list right now. So the biggest news, obviously, I'll go over this at the end, but we have rare earth material stocks are extremely volatile right now. Volatile, uptrending, quantums as well. But in terms of my scanner, besides all the day trading volatile plays, this is what I'm seeing. So we'll go over them one by one. This list will also be in the comment section below. So rapid fire here. Open Door. Very volatile stock. However, it's starting to look like it's really losing momentum here. The symmetrical triangle has been lost to the downside. This is a very large one. Could be about 25% to the downside. So if we're going to crash, it could crash down to $6. If I use a Fibonacci from bottom to top, that could be closer to the 50% retrace zone, which would be about 562. If it gets down to $618, $4, maybe I'm interested. But because it's not in an uptrend anymore, that it's starting to downtrend or at least starting to consolidate into this type of descending triangle, if we lose the gap of $7, there could be a problem here with open. BMNR, I played this last leg and then I closed that position for green profit for now. Now, interesting that all I'm going to say is we're holding this 26 EMA and then we bounced. So we bounced up today. Obviously, a lot of stocks in crypto bounce, but this is our next watch point. See if we can actually break through. Once BMNR, if it ever breaks through $65 here at the top, then we're probably going to see this like extreme explosion of the price. But right now, it's really hard to see. But let's hide the indicators. And we zoom in a lot. We actually bounced off the anchored VWAP since the company merged and launched, basically. So $52 is that VWAP spot. So my anchored VWAP is always starting down here right a day before the gap up. And that's why there's some decent value here. But this is a crypto play. Speaking of crypto stocks, MSTR, I'm going to scoot this over here. It's making another double bottom and a higher low. This is what I'm talking about. So MSTR has been in a downtrend since the summer, but we had a pop up and a pullback. And I like the setup. If we have a double bottom, which we do, off of $300, and if Bitcoin sustains an uptrend rally, MSTR could potentially rally to 363. It's almost like a reverse Fibonacci. Are we going to test this 618 again? That's what I'm looking for. That price range could be about 10%. It's kind of large. Apple. All right, so played this nicely. Now, Apple's still in the uptrend. Here, the golden cross was on around September 15. All I'm going to say here is price is right around that 26 EMA. And historically, when we go into these longer term uptrends, the 26 or 20 EMA could be potential dip zones. That's why the fear is here for now, is temporary. But the earnings, if the earnings are good in a couple of weeks, or if there's some surprise announcement, we could have a potential volatile setup. However, I kept seeing on social media that the current CEO of Apple might be stepping down soon. So it remains to be seen if that's going to be a bullish catalyst or not, because it's just we had this flash crash. So resistance at 258. And this could be one of the dip plays. Right here, we need to hold above 244. Moving along. Microsoft, I'm going to say, is still in the potential uptrend. In the daily chart, the weekly chart, we want to make sure we're not having a lower high on the weekly investing. Because if that's true and we start to round over, and if Microsoft has bad earnings, actually could pull back. So the longer term support play, 495, we need to break above 519 this month or next month. But we can't hesitate sideways like this too much. This video might go longer than usual. Bank of America, all I'm going to say is 4-hour MACD momentum is forming. The daily stochastic is flatline low down there. So if Bank of America has good earnings, I'm expecting some kind of pop up to like 51 zone. RIVN, also very similar setup, that it is downtrending, risky setup, downtrending right now. But this 4-hour MACD is still open and it's looking like it wants to pop up to $14 if there's good news. Robinhood on the daily chart. This is kind of an older setup, but it's still there. That first off, I want to preface by saying all the way back on TradingView, this was a resistance zone. I was talking about small pullbacks, but this is such a strong stock with the fundamentals and all the announcements that they're making that it's a nonstop uptrend for now. Now, the only thing I'm saying is on the weekly chart in this Bollinger Band, last week it did get overbought, a little bit too extreme. And it would be nice to see Robinhood at some point perhaps test one of the EMAs on the downside just to establish some kind of support level again, which it is right now. But if it goes a little bit deeper, 134, 128 would look nicer. So put that potential resistance double top below 141 for now. BABA, after that crash, the price is holding below the actual 26 EMA. So from this breakout spot, let's put a Fibonacci up, pierced down into the 382, rejecting for now below the 26. So if we can't uptrend reverse, then the price will probably continue back down to 152. Last one I'm going to say is natural gas. I always have my eye on this. Natural gas, the technical charts do not always work. But the reason I keep staring at this chart is because after a very, very strong downtrend, the weather starts to get colder here in America. So perhaps maybe natural gas demand might start to go up. I played this last swing, closed that out. But the price is starting to go sideways right now above $12. So it's not a perfect double bottom. We almost had it, but then the tariff volatility pulled the price back down. But on a weekly chart, I'm still suspicious of this, that we could break out. Once we break out above the $13 range, there's all of this range to try to reclaim. So longer term, I'm looking at maybe 6 months out from now, can we hit $13, $14, and $16? But it needs to be a glorious setup. I need to see a big double bottom or upside down head and shoulders, which I played last time to the upside. So right now it's still consolidation news play. All right, thank you for watching. Let's go to crypto. Crypto total market cap index. So we just had an incredible crypto Black Friday, in a bad way, crypto flash crash. Now, there was a lot of drama and action that happened. I was in and out, away from my computer, in and out of my house this past weekend. But right here, total, we reclaimed the price. So the fear subsided on that tariff news. One thing I want to say is there was this head and shoulders warning sign that was warning us. And I actually closed out. I played the swing here to here, low to high, and then I closed that trade out. So I completely avoided that. So that's what I was saying a week or two ago, that once we're starting to have that momentum loss, to move my stop losses up, because once we get the flash crash, sometimes the exchanges freeze, sometimes traders freeze, sometimes internet goes down, and I cannot manually close my positions. That's why having an OCO order, for example, like this, OCO order, and then changing the order, making another OCO order, or if you're on exchange with a trailing stop loss, to just move that stop loss, let it trail up, and then once it takes a profit as a trader, we're safe. I do want to point out that one of the strategies for those types of flash crashes is what I call the lower Bollinger Band strategy, is that once it pierces down extreme, I could even slap on a linear regression. And once it gets down to that zone as low as possible, this lower body wick might not have been possible. But once it gets down there, and it used to be down there just 2 days ago, that could be some buy signals for crypto and the flash crash. Sometimes it's not 100%. But the reason why I'm not going to tell people to buy things so much today is because the crash already happened and the bounce already happened. So let's go to Bitcoin. Bitcoin bounced off of that support zone around 109, 110K. And so we're still starting to go on this bounce. Let's use a cleaner Binance chart. Bitcoin bouncing off 110, 112. Now we can use Fibonacci just to see where could we retrace to. The pivot point says, well, we pierced that pivot point, held that. Next target 117, 120, 123, although it might not happen as fast because I think people are just afraid, shocked, right? In terms of crypto trading, this is normal for me. This is daily life. If you day trade penny stocks, this happens every single day. But in terms of crypto, these are less frequent because institutional buyers keep buying crypto at every single dip. So crypto for now, it's not the safest play, but it's a little bit more predictable when we have these crashes. Now, in terms of the momentum, I do like on the daily, the stochastic is actually still below 25. So we could have a potential longer term rally back up to 124K if earnings are good for stocks and we don't have some kind of massive fear tariff disaster for the rest of this year. Ethereum USD, very similar as well. Once we had the flash crash, like if I bring up my Bollinger Bands and my linear regressions, it's hard to see. But if we zoom in very, very closely, I can see that, yes, the price did pierce out below those two. I'm talking about this Bollinger Band and this linear regression line. So that's the zone. And then we had a triple candle Morningstar pattern, also a higher low on a lower time frame, and that's going to blast us off. Now, the setup I'm staring at, it just happened a couple weeks ago, is after we have this type of momentum loss, can we actually hold one of the EMAs up here, which is now about 4,300 on Ethereum, and then actually break up for one more leg up? Because if not, it could actually pull back. So the multiple scenarios for crypto, since this video is going long, I'll start out with the bullish case. If it's bullish, we continue this uptrend. We'll have very small pullbacks or just small intraday pullbacks and then continue the volatility uptrend up to about 4,700. Neutral is that we continue just sideways. We kind of just lose a little bit of momentum and then nobody's going to do major moves because of volatility. Bearish is we reject below 4,300 and then make a double bottom back down to 3,700. But I don't think that's going to happen because we need extreme bearish news for crypto to crash like that. In other words, tariff news and earnings both has to be bad, or maybe some kind of global disaster event. And then if those three things happen in a row, maybe then people will get very scared and then sell. I hope that doesn't happen though. All right, there's good news and bad news for Ripple. The good news is some of that extreme volatility already passed in terms of the descending triangle 20% that already happened. And now we retraced well more than halfway. So all I'm looking at is this potential resistance point at 270 right now. And Ripple is not in an uptrend. If I'm honest, this is not an uptrend. This was a consolidation. It's actually downtrending. Lower low, lower high, lower low. So I'm looking for the next lower high right now, 275, if we could reach that, and then maybe one more try at a lower low, maybe in the future, and a bearish scenario. Still, I'm looking for 280 and then pull back 257 and try to break out of there. So Ripple, if it doesn't break above $3, people are not going to get excited. Solana, beautiful play. Solana is just a wonderful altcoin, but 192. I played this last swing, nice profit. And the lower low, lower high, right? We are not uptrending anymore. We are not in an uptrend. This was an uptrend back in the summer and playing those 20 EMA dips, low stochastic dips, mostly EMA dips. Once we're in this lower low, this is a downtrend, folks. And once we bounce back up here, it could still downtrend one more time, 3 to 6 months from now. So that's why I'm not extremely excited in terms of trend but it was a very nice volatile play. Very nice volatile play. So you can see that upper target might only be around 220 to about 230, which is still a lot in terms of percentage, 5 to 10%. But it would be nice if we had a pullback. We already kind of had that, though. I had to show us in an hourly. We kind of had this pullback even today, right? So a little quick education is once we start downtrending like this on an hourly, and then we lose that hourly uptrend, or that we lose that 4-hour uptrend, right? We're uptrending, and then suddenly we're not, right? We lose that, and then we have big flash crash, probably because too many longs were leveraged, unfortunately. Then we had this upside down head and shoulders. We had a higher low pattern, hammer candles, pivot breakdown. This is actually another Bollinger Band piercing. And then on the 4-hour, some clues were low stochastic, MACD momentum's building, very low extreme RSI reading with hammer candles, trend change, trade on. Although I was out this weekend on holiday, so I did not play this, which is totally fine. Totally fine. One thing I learned as a trader is if I only stare at the charts, 12 plus hours a day, that is not life. That's not a life that I want. That's what the market used to be a long time ago. All right, let's end this long video. I still have a couple setups. These are just my scanner. These are not the best setups, so just for my scanner showing. I'll rapid fire these and we'll close. AVAX, very similar. It's just prices below the linear regression line still. So Avalanche had a more severe crash, and then we have a bullish momentum on the stochastic. So AVAX could try to keep going up to $28. Interesting. SNX synthetics, I just want to call this out because I'm not telling people to buy. This is not financial advice. It's just we had a higher high, higher low, and big explosion of volatility to the upside. So it's just on the watch list. Zcash starting to consolidate right now, losing a little bit of momentum, but that RSI is starting to get very overbought. Watch out for potential pullback because that last leg, which honestly, I didn't play that one either, but I played other things. It's starting to pull back. So watch out in the long term that we're not going to start this downtrend on Zcash. Horizen, I did play this, except there was an extreme volatile candle, but I actually played this stock version of this HZen, right? I played this from 89 cents and I sold at 143. So I had a nice play on HZen, 50%. But on regular crypto, one of my business partners was saying that even if we have a stop loss, sometimes you're going to get kicked out, even if I accident buy the top or we have an extreme candle. So it is what it is. It's all about risk management. Still watching this, a little bit of double top on that RSI. Watch out for that. Litecoin, all I'm going to say is below. It used to be below 200 EMA, and it's just stochastic is low here. So there could be a chance for a bounce. Versus if this stochastic was high, we could have a pullback chance. So it's actually low. I'm going to be optimistic here. APT Aptos, remember like a month ago, I was saying if we can hold that $4 zone, we might get a breakout to 450 or 5. That happened. But this is crypto. Remember, head and shoulders or double tops or resistance or linear regression to the top side, stochastic to the top side, that's a trading crash. So right now, it's the reverse. We actually had that lower linear regression pierce, stochastic at 25. Potential bounce I'm looking at. Now for these more like smaller coins, FIlecoin, stochastic below 25, Optimism below 25, stochastic below 25, the price below 51 cents. Optimism, I was looking at this for a while. This is not a popular coin by any chance, by any means. But it's just that there was that potential upside down head and shoulders play because after such a huge crash, it flatlined back down to support. So it caught my eye. And on a weekly, there was a very large MACD momentum. So I'm going to have to just keep waiting for this one. But I like the fact that it has a chance to have this pop up to like 145, but it's just not trending in the market right now. All the privacy coins are trending right now. Just something on my watch list. Okay, Ethena. USD, strong pullback. But on that weekly chart, if we pull up that Fibonacci, it's possible that if we hold this pivot point that we could try to retest one of the highs again. So I'm trying to be optimistic here. Higher low. If this happens to be the pivot point, it would be wonderful to see this go back to like 75 or $1. We'll see, however. The momentum is not that large, extreme, but stochastic at 25. Potential MACD momentum forming, but I like that. It already crashed. Almost back down to that full retrace. And last one, Pengu. Pengu, I played these two, had nice trades. But the fact that Pengu is not in an uptrend anymore is not that exciting to me. But I want to point out, having a trend line set up like this could actually pay. Right? It could actually pay. Just a generic trend line, bounce perfectly off that. Sometimes having a deep order, just in case. For example, there's no level 2 right now. But if there was a level 2, just imaginary, is sometimes people, for example, if the price is here, we know robots, if you scroll down on the level 2 on your exchange, you'll see there are robot buy orders and market maker buy orders down there. Just set up for this particular scenario is if there's a crash, robots and algos know to buy that if it crashes more than 10%, 25, 50%, especially 50%. If it goes down that fast, we're all probably going to buy, right? Because we're anticipating the flash crash. It's just Pengu's in a downtrend. We had that flash crash already. But if we reject, so I'm going to give two scenarios. I always do this to prepare myself. Bear scenario first. We have a little bounce to about 27 and then pull back down to like 23 and then try to re-trend here. Bullish case just breaks through, small pullback, and then head to 32. Let's bring up Pump because Pump is a perfect example of crypto trading. My goodness. So I play Pump multiple times. I play Pump here and I play Pump here as well. That cup and handle did not come true, so I have to let go of that chart mindset setup in my mind. And now it's downtrending. Lower low, lower high, correlation with Bitcoin, flash crash back down to the bottom side. And if I put a trend line, it actually pierced down below there. Went way below the Bollinger Band as well. So what's remaining here for Pump is that a lot of coins are correlated with Bitcoin and Ethereum, XRP, Solana. Actually, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more Solana. And maybe Binance Coin. It's just, when we have these flash crashes, it's a matter of, can I get as low as possible? And right now, it's not as low as possible. But if Bitcoin happens to uptrend, I like the fact that we have a chance here. Let's bring up an Anchor View app right at this bottom spot of July. Anchored View app from this spot here at 0.002309 is about 4597. So the last time we had a monster setup is the price did pull back and crash, right? But then we had a double bottom setup, or the price went above VWAP, held, and then we made a higher high. So that's something I'm really looking out for on Pump, is that we could reject and go straight down to 3,700 again. But if we happen to have that setup of breakout, small intraday retest above 4,500, we actually could see a survival here up to the 600 range for this, the 0.006,000 range, I should say. So that's why all these altcoins I'm talking about, like Pump or Pengu or Bonk or anything like that, when Bitcoin crashes, they're going to crash very hard, but that could be a very risky but rewarding day trade. All right, this video went over time. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something, and I'm giving away a lot of chart setups from my scanner for free this week, just because I care about my subscribers and I care about the charts still. So if you like this video, go ahead and subscribe, click the notification bell, hit the like button if you liked or learned something from this video. So today, October 13, 2025, let's end with the watch list. A lot of earnings. And I want to preface this by saying I don't follow every single company or every single crypto because it's too much sometimes. I set up my system and I try to have more relaxed investing and trading. Earnings releases coming up. JP Morgan Chase, BlackRock, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, United Airlines, Taiwan Semiconductor, we'll put that in there as well. Now, the USA economic data is all delayed right now and suspended because of the government shutdown. That is actually going on for a pretty long time now. So the economic data is not coming out. We're just going to kind of have to give our best guess, and it's all about the earnings. However, that data is coming out. Now, some of the news. This past weekend, last Friday, which was mid-October, President Trump announced new 100% tariffs on China imports by November 1st. But just yesterday, October 12th, both sides, so USA and China, substantially de-escalated their tariff threats, probably because they saw what was happening with the market and stores. USA stock market earnings season begins this week. OpenAI announced new deals with both AMD and Broadcom to provide OpenAI with custom AI chip processors. Intel, unfortunately, was recently downgraded by BofA Securities from neutral down to underperform. That's probably because now AMD, Broadcom, NVIDIA, etc. are having chip deals. Saw this news, Tesla Cybertruck sales reduced 62.6% down in Q3 of 2025. That was the summer. Interesting. This is like the Fibonacci number, 62%. Is that the bottom? However, could they rebound? It's something to watch out for. And rare earth material stocks are still volatile, very volatile. I'm not going to show it on the stream. Here are the chart events that I talked about. These are not the best chart setups. My screener will tell me basically every week, sometimes every day. But in terms from my experience, there's maybe only one big play a month, and then we just kind of probably had it. Next thing I'm looking for is earnings. And these are the crypto plays as well. So if you're a crypto trader, it's all about Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's all about that. Bitcoin crashes, everything's going to crash. Bitcoin rallies strongly, then eventually the altcoins will follow as well. Last thing I'll say is technical charts can be overridden and canceled by breaking news and fundamental changes. So I'm forced to watch the news every day right now, although I don't want to. The only way for me to avoid news, which is the best strategy, is I have to buy at a bottom zone. Then I can avoid for a while. But if I buy at a top, right, or I'm in the middle, then I have to be more careful about the news and the changes because this crypto, this 2025, anything is possible. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice week, and I'll see you in the next video.